Hey guys, fun lesson for reading today. We're going to read about the history of basketball. The article we'll read today is called The All-American Game, and it can be found in our textbook, pages 370 through 373. And afterwards, we'll do some comprehension questions on workbook page 145. So before we get started, kind of want to gauge your interest and understanding about the sport of basketball. Do you like basketball? Have you ever played basketball? Let's pretend that we're in the classroom. Pause the video here and kind of talk to me about what you know about basketball. Whether you like it, whether you ever played it, have you ever watched it, have you ever wanted to be on a team, etc. So go ahead and pause here and kind of talk to me about what you know about basketball. Cool, yeah, I personally love basketball. I used to play it a little bit in high school, even though I was really, really bad. But it's still a good team sport, and we also played in different ways at school too. You know, when we play trash basketball as review games, even throwing like rolled up paper into trash cans and stuff like that, that comes from the idea of basketball too, right? So this is the man that invented basketball. His name is Dr. James Naismith. Let's kind of go over the brief summary of this article first. So go to page 370. It says, although there are many team sports that Americans enjoy, there's only one official team game that can trace its roots back to no other country but America. This is the story of the invention of that game, which took place in 1891. So just based on this small paragraph, tell me, what is so unique about the game of basketball? Yeah, it is the one official team game that can trace its roots back to just America. My second question for you is, when was basketball invented? 1891. Very good. We're going to go over a few vocabulary words before we start. So if you would like to write these down, that's totally cool. First one, rugby. What do you think the meaning of rugby is? Just by reading this sentence. When Tim went to the rugby game in England, he was surprised to find it similar to football. Yeah, so it is a sport, right? It's the name of a sport, similar to American football. Yeah, you can read the definition here. And as you can infer using context clues, it was invented in England. Second word is mold, which is a verb. Try to figure out what the meaning of this word is. As I took my test, I mulled over the answers to the difficult questions. What do you think the meaning is? Yeah, so in this context, it means to think something over or to ponder something, just like this lady is doing here. Our third word is calisthenics. Try to say this with me, calisthenics. You might have practiced this in PE class. Our PE teacher encourages us to strengthen our muscles by having us do calisthenics. What do you think this means? Yeah, they're exercises to make you stronger and more flexible, but you don't have to use any gym equipment. It's really nice, actually. So things like sit-ups and push-ups, those are all calisthenics. And our last word is an adjective, brawny. Try to figure out what this word means by using the context clues in this sentence. Because of all the heavy lifting that my uncle does on his farm, he is brawny. What do you think that means? Yeah, it means having really large, strong muscles. Okay, cool. Now that we went over the vocabulary, let's kind of go over the questions in the workbook just so we know what to look out for as we read. Okay, circle the correct basketball. Number 1, the YMCA. YMCA. Do you guys remember when we did that? The YMCA needed a new indoor game because. So we need to figure out, why did the YMCA need a new indoor game? The men didn't like doing calisthenics and weightlifting because. Why did the men dislike doing calisthenics and weightlifting? Dr. Naismith wanted the new game to be played with a big ball because. Why did Dr. Naismith want the game to be played with a big ball as opposed to a small one? Dr. Naismith used peach baskets as goals because. Why did he use peach baskets as goals? You can kind of try to make predictions too. Dr. Naismith wanted the game to be based on passing the ball rather than running with it because why did he want the game to be based on passing rather than running with the ball? You know, that's called traveling, right? It took Dr. Naismith so long to come up with a new game because why did it take so long for him to come up with the game? Okay. Dr. Naismith placed the baskets up high so that, why did he put the baskets up so high? Baskets were eventually made without bottoms because, why were baskets, oops, my brain is trying to type something else, bottoms. So yeah, these are the questions we're going to be looking out for. As always, if you'd rather read alone, no problem at all. Let's go. Oof, Dr. Naismith, did you see that last soccer ball? It almost knocked me out. Yes, and the one before that just about smashed a window. Another inch and we would have been collecting broken glass. So what game are they playing right now? Soccer, good. I know, boys. James Naismith shook his head sadly. I guess soccer is just too rough a game to try to play inside a gymnasium. But so is rugby, and so is American football, and baseball would be impossible. What other team games are there? No one had an answer. Pause. So what happens that proves that soccer is too rough of a game to be played indoors? Yeah, it knocks somebody out and it smashes a window. So soccer is not an indoor sport. The young men slowly gathered their belongings and trooped out of the YMCA. James Naismith shook his head and trudged back to his office. The YMCA had given the coaches 2 weeks to invent a new indoor game, one that would not cost so much in broken windows as indoor soccer did. The time limit was almost up and Dr. Naismith had been determined to submit the best idea, but so far, none of his ideas had been practical. Somehow, he still had to find an answer. So pausing here, why did YMCA need a new indoor game? Because the other indoor sports like soccer, rugby, and baseball, they couldn't be played indoors, right? So you can take notes around here. Were too costly, like broken windows and things like that. So Dr. Naismith sat down at his desk and mulled over the problem again. The young men had several wonderful young rough and tumble games to play outside when the weather was pretty, but in the winter time, they had to stay inside the gymnasium, so all there was to do was calisthenics, marching, and weightlifting. But the fellows didn't want to do this routine every day. They just didn't see any point to any of those activities. They needed teamwork and the excitement of competition. It was obvious that what they needed was a game. Okay, pause here. How come the boys do not like calisthenics, marching, and weightlifting? Yeah, because they want to play a game with competition. They want to work on teamwork and things like that. So they want more competition, games, teamwork, etc. But it seemed that none of the games the men were familiar with could be modified for playing inside. What in the world could he do? Once more, he racked his brain, trying to think of some game that could be modified. But the problem with all those games was that they were just too rough. He had to find a different game, one that would require more skill than brute strength. But there simply wasn't one. Well, Dr. Naismith whispered to himself, why, how foolish I've been. All along I've been trying to modify or change a game when what I really need to do is invent one that's completely new. He grabbed a piece of paper and began to scribble furiously. Now, he muttered while he scribbled, we want it to be simple so that all the young men can understand it easily. We want the ball to be big enough to maneuver or move with the hands instead of some other instrument. It's too dangerous to be swinging bats or mallets in a gymnasium. We don't want the young men to have to tackle each other because that's too rough. But they could get the ball away from the other team a different way. Instead of running with the ball, they could pass it to each other. That would give everyone a sporting chance. Okay, pausing here. So why does Dr. Naismith want the game to be played with a big ball? Okay, what it says, we want the ball to be big enough to maneuver with the hands instead of using a bat. So he wants people to be able to hold the ball instead of, swinging it. And why did he want the game to be based on passing rather than running? It says here. Yeah, to give every single person in the team a chance. Cool. And why did it take so long for him to come up with this game? It's here. Yeah, because he's been trying to think of ways to change a game that already existed instead of coming up with a new one. Yeah. Okay. All right, let's go on. And what about a goal? If we had a goal as big as a soccer goal, they would just throw the ball and possibly break out a window. That's what almost happened today. Well, why not have a small goal, like a box? And why not put it up so high that they have to have even more skill? Yes, a box mounted up on a post. They pass the ball to their teammates and shoot for the box. That's it. That's our new game. So why does he put the baskets up so high? Yeah, so it will be reliant on skill. Okay. And yeah, let's go on. Dr. Naismith couldn't wait to try out his new invention. He asked the janitor to nail a couple of boxes to the walls at either end of the gymnasium. As it happened, the janitor couldn't find any boxes and used 2 peach baskets instead. So why did he use peach baskets? Because the janitor couldn't find any boxes. Yeah. Once again, the young men gathered in the gymnasium. They were a little discouraged by now because none of Dr. Naismith's experiments had worked so far. But when they saw the baskets nailed up high and heard the rumor that they were going to try out a brand new game, their interest perked up. Dr. Naismith read the 13 simple rules to the young men and watched them grow more and more excited as they listened. It sounded like a game that could really work, a game of skill that even the smaller and skinnier young men could play, as well as the big brawny ones. The young men grabbed the rugby ball and went at it. Here, throw it here, Jim. I can get it in the basket. No, you missed. Ha, wait. There goes William. William did it. He got it in the basket. Yeah. And William Chase scored the one and only point of the first historic game. Teammates cheered as one person ran up to the balcony to get the ball out of the basket. Even the opposing team had to admit that it was a pretty good game. Hey, Dr. Naismith, what do you call this game? The one boy hollered. Well, I haven't got a name for it yet. What do you boys suggest? I know, one offered. Why don't we call it basketball? Well, we have a basket and a ball, Dr. Naismith said with a grin. Basketball seems as good a name as any. So basketball it was. It soon became my favorite sport at the YMCA. Basketball was 15 years old before someone finally got the idea of using a basket with no bottom so that the ball could fall through easily. So, why were baskets made without bottoms eventually? So the ball can just fall through more easily. Yeah. The game went on to become popular all over the nation. The rules changed again and again until they were finalized at last in the mid-1900s. Dr. Naismith lived to see the game he invented become the most popular indoor sport in the world. What you're going to do next is complete page 145. I'm going to leave it up to you guys to do it on your own because we did kind of go over potential possible answers over here in the stickies. But of course, you'll have to go back and review it to find some of the answers, and we can go over them during Zoom. And once you're done, check out some of the clips I added to the playlist, some of the coolest NBA dunks, as well as a short video on the history of basketball. Otherwise, great job, and I will talk to you soon. Bye!